Hey there guys, how's it going? Back with another video. So, for those of you who don't know, Terence Crawford is apparently going to be defending his title against Kell Brook coming up soon. And yeah, this is a fight that intrigues me. It's a fight I wanted to talk about. Now, it's a fight that I'm kind of throwing a red flag on, and the reason why is because although I do really rate Kell Brook, you guys that have been following my channel will know that I think that Kell Brook is a supremely talented fighter. There's a lot of uncertainty going into this fight because it's been a long, long time since Kell Brook was able to last make welterweight. And not only that, but ever since the Gennady Golovkin fight, Kell Brook just hasn't been the same to me. When he moved up to middleweight, which, by the way, and as I've said before, middleweight is Kell Brook's natural weight. Okay, he was at his absolute best in that fight. He moved up, fought Gennady Golovkin, and Gennady Golovkin was just too much for him. He gave him a beating, shattered his orbital bone, and yeah, forced a stoppage. Kell Brook then, in a pretty foolish move, decided to move back down in weight and fight against Errol Spence, who was his mandatory at the time, and it was a pretty good fight while it lasted. He did give Errol Spence some problems. He was outboxing him, but just the pressure and the work rate of Errol Spence got too much for Brook, and Brook, who was severely weight drained and coming off that injury, ended up getting stopped, and he took a beating in the later rounds of that fight, and ended up taking even more punishment just based on, you know, the sustained beating that he took. So Kell Brook, ever since those two fights, it's been pretty clear that he's never really going to be at his prime. He did have a couple of wins at 154, like against that guy that used to be trained by Ricky Hatton. What's his name? The guy that fought Anthony Mundine. I can't remember his name right now. His name escapes me. But Kell Brook knocked him out in 2 rounds. I remember that fight, and he looked pretty good doing it. That was an okay performance. He also fought what was his name? Michael Zarafa. I think he beat him on points, but he had a few problems. So he's done bits and pieces ever since the Errol Spence fight, but he hasn't really looked like vintage Kell Brook. You know, he doesn't really seem to have the same sharpness or the same stamina or the same reflexes that he had before the Golovkin fight. So going into fight Terence Crawford, who is one of the best welterweights on the planet right now, you know, by any objective standard, it doesn't really bode well for him, does it? So just looking at this fight and you know, going off what we know about Kell Brook right now, this should be a fight where Terence Crawford is getting it at the right time. I mean, if this had been Kell Brook, put it this way, if this had been Kell Brook from before the Golovkin fight, like let's say it was Kell Brook from the Sean Porter fight, or Kell Brook from the Jojo Dan fight, or the Kevin Bizier fight, or even before then, you know, Kell Brook from the Carson Jones fight, you know, Kell Brook back when he was in shape, back when he was, you know, he had his diet under control and he wasn't like blowing up in weight between fights, that version of Kell Brook, I think he would have a very good chance of not only beating Terence Crawford, but knocking him out. I'm serious. Because I think that Kell Brook is the bigger puncher. I think at his prime he had faster hands, physically stronger. He had a very good chin in his prime, Kell Brook. You know, he was a guy who was very, very big and chunky and durable and tough for the division. And his physical strength, as well as his power, his ability to clinch and stuff like that, would have been a real problem for Crawford, who doesn't really appear to be the strongest welterweight. I do think that Crawford is strong, and I do think Crawford's tough, but I just think that Kell Brook would have been too powerful for him. I really do. And I think that Kell Brook would have beaten him. But looking at the fight now, I only give Kell Brook a small puncher's chance in the early rounds. I don't give him a chance if the fight goes to the later rounds. I don't see him beating Crawford on points. I don't see him outboxing him. I don't think Brook has the work rate or the durability at this stage to keep Terence Crawford off him for 12 rounds. I think that Terence Crawford, at this stage of his career, he's got a lot of momentum. I mean, in his fight against Kavaliauskas, for example, he was able to walk through big punches and stop the guy. And Kavaliauskas is a pretty decent puncher and a tough guy himself. So Crawford has shown good durability, shown a good chin. He's shown the ability to walk down an opponent who is physically strong and powerful, and I can see him doing the same to Brook, if I'm being honest, because you know, when Kell Brook fought, when he fought Errol Spence, it was the same situation, wasn't it? I mean, he had the talent to beat Errol Spence, he just didn't have the stamina or the durability due to the cutting of weight and due to the beating he took against Golovkin. So to me, I just think that this fight, I only really see it going one way. I think that Brook will have success in the early rounds, just like Amir Khan did, just like Igor Kavalauskas did. But I think that Terence Crawford will get inside. I think he'll work the body. I think he'll rough him up. And I think that by the midway point of the fight, Kell Brook will start to fall apart. And it'll just be the same old situation with Brook, where he doesn't have the stamina or the durability to finish the fight. So I'm going with Terence Crawford in this one by a mid to late stoppage. That's how I see this fight. So let me know what you guys think anyway. Thanks for watching, and yeah, God bless.